So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what has been helpful for me in dealing with the type of stress and pressure and overwhelm that being an entrepreneur in general, but specifically in e-commerce, how that impacts on you as a person, how you operate your business, and how honestly it really holds you back from achieving what you set out to achieve. So I'm going to walk you through kind of my personal experience and opinions and what's been really helpful and valuable for me so that you can take a couple of these skills away with you and deal with it even better in your life as well. So this is going to be a really interesting one for you. So firstly, if you don't know me, my name is Will De Bruin. I co-founded an e-commerce business in 2013 with my brother. We left our corporate jobs and started a cold pressed juice cleansing company from our kitchen bench, bootstrapped their thing the entire way through, and it now does multiple 7 figures per year. And over the last couple of years, I've actually helped about 200 e-commerce brands hit record revenue months with their businesses as well. And talking about things like this, honestly sharing skills about what we did practically all the way through strategic things, but also as I deal with more and more clients in our program, our Ecom Blueprint program, which is a paid community, I realize more and more how much is between the ears of people and what that means to them succeeding and getting what they want at the end of the day and through the hard work that they actually do. Because what I have realized within myself is that if I had to really think about, and I encourage you to do the same thing, if you think about how much of your success from a percentage perspective, how much of you getting what you want from a percentage perspective is to do with your mental capacity and the way that you think about yourself and see the world, I would say that mine is absolutely up towards that 80 and 90%. And so with that realization, it's like, well, okay, if I'm spending all my time on the practical skills, the strategies, and hardly anything on the mental side, and yet so much of my success and progress is contributed to my mental side, that's completely backwards. So that's why I like to bring these things into the clients that I deal with and work with and talk about these things like I am today. So hopefully this is going to be really valuable for you. So I wanted to talk through dealing with stress and overwhelm and even, go into the anxiety type things as well, because it's really natural that people do deal with this. And I think an important thing to kick off with is business in general, life in general is stressful and overwhelming. Okay? Stagnation is stressful. Scale is stressful. Decline is stressful. They're all stressful. And so it's not necessarily about removing the levels of stress or overwhelm. It's about the recognition of it and then obviously strategies to then go and deal with it. So the crux of why I'm talking about this and why we need to either prevent it or obviously just deal with it is because stress and overwhelm becomes an inhibitor, meaning it prevents you from doing the thing or getting to the level or getting to the level at the speed at which you want to. So that can prevent you from, doing anything. Sometimes stress and overwhelm creates like a freeze effect on people. It obviously stops you from doing the thing, doing the action. It stops you from planning, seeing clearly, making the correct decisions or making any decision at all. But more than anything, as an overarching theme, it becomes an inhibitor to you doing the right thing. And it also really restricts, your confidence. Like if you think about times when you're stressed and overwhelmed, you feel out of control. And at moments when you feel out of control, your confidence is low. And again, you just don't want to make that wrong next step, right? Because you just are so clouded with your headspace that you just don't know what to do next. And sometimes, and what I have to call people out, to be honest with you, and call myself out as well, is that when we say that we're stressed or overwhelmed, it almost, with that recognition, becomes sometimes a bit of a get out for us, right? Like you may have caught yourself doing this at some point or even now recalling. It's like I said, I'm stressed and overwhelmed. Okay, cool. Okay, that's like my get out. I don't have to do the thing now. I don't have to step up to the plate. I don't have to move on with what I was actually going to do because I'm stressed and overwhelmed. And that's just the get out. Okay, so that's where I've had to call myself out, as I say, other people as well, and just say, no, that's not a get out. Okay, it's a symptom of how I'm feeling due to X, Y, Z, which we'll go through and reverse engineer. And I need to now take A, B, C action to get into a different state so that I can actually move forwards. So just be really careful when you recognize that you're stressed or overwhelmed as that get out, because at the end of the day, it's only you that is going to suffer for that get out. Okay, it means you're not doing the thing that's going to drive your business forward in the case of e-commerce. So don't let yourself get away with just recognizing or categorizing yourself to the stress and overwhelm phase. So another great way to look at, challenges or problems that become stressful and overwhelming. As I say, like typically when we're in business, we think that the stress comes from not making enough sales or not making having enough enough traffic or not converting enough people on our website. This is e-commerce, obviously, we're talking about specifically. But like I said right in the beginning, decline or lack of growth is stressful, stagnation is stressful, and also growth is stressful, right? It actually is. Scale is stressful. And so something that I relate to, and you can take my experience with this, is that when I look back on every challenge or problem we've had, no challenges or problems were actually completely gone from your life or your business, right? So even when you have money coming through the door, even when you have sales coming through the door, customers coming through the door, it creates different challenges, different problems, different stresses, and different overwhelms. So these skills and these strategies we need to continue to use as we do actually get what we want, or obviously with the alternative when it happens more commonly is when we're not getting what we want. So I just want you to have an overall realization about that. And again, a good way that you can look at this is think about something that you were stressed or worried or overwhelmed with 2 years ago, 2 years ago. What was it? How insignificant or minor does it seem right now, right? Those stresses that you're going through right now, in another 1 to 2 years time, you'll look back on the situation right now and have the same thoughts about how minor or insignificant they might be. So that perspective really opens up the opportunity to go and solve it, but also should just give you a breath of fresh air and the confidence that you will get through this. There's a really great saying that actually my mum taught me at some stage, and it's basically, this too will pass. Okay, so that can mean really in a negative context, like these challenges, this stress, this overwhelm will pass, but it also means the good times as well. It's completely neutral, completely objective, right? It means this period of time will pass, okay? So a good way, as I say, think about things that are stressful or overwhelming right now is, well, me in a couple of years' time will think this is so insignificant. I can take a breath, I can crack a smile, sometimes have a bit of laugh. That's what I've found really valuable. And we can move on with what we actually need to do in a really objective, focused way. And then with that perspective, you can then understand that you are in complete control, okay? The stress or the overwhelm is basically your perception. It is totally self-imposed. It's not to say that what you're thinking about and what you're stressing over it isn't important. It's all in your own head kind of thing. But it's the perspective. Okay, so that's again puts us in the control seat. We can really control what we then go and do next, how we can deal with it. And so again, I like to always think that, okay, how can I change this? How can I change my state? And then it comes back to looking within and questioning yourself. Why am I stressed? Why am I overwhelmed? And it typically comes down to, I would say, a lack of information or lack of clarity. And then once you have that identified, it says, well, now I can actually do something about it. Bang, put it on paper. Why am I stressed? Why am I overwhelmed? Oh, okay, because my business isn't growing as fast as I'd like. Okay, why? My ads aren't working, they're not converting. Why, right? The more you question these things, the more you get into the weeds, to the root of your overwhelm and stress, the more clear it's going to be about how you can get out of that. Think about the alternative, which we've all done, and I could say myself guilty of this as well, is when we're stressed and overwhelmed, we go and try and find a new thing. It's like, let's go and distract myself. This is too hard. This is too overwhelming. It's too stressful. Again, your get out, I'm not going to do the thing. I'm going to just take a few days off and hope it all kind of goes away. Bang, you come back in 2 days' time and it's still in exactly the same position it was in. Okay, so confronting the stress and the overwhelm is really, really important in that objective way, right? Sure, we'll talk about some strategies in a second about how to deal with it in the moments, but we need to understand that the only way we're going to get past this is through it. Okay, we can't dance around it, we can't avoid it, we just need to go directly through it. So let's just talk about some preventative natures of dealing with stress and overwhelm. And it really does, again, start with the self. Okay, so some obvious things that you may have thought of, but may just be a bit of a recall and something you can maybe readdress in your routine right now. Eating well, drinking well, right? Eating the right foods, eating the most natural foods, not getting sugar and carb spikes. Okay, same thing with drinking, whether it's cutting out alcohol, cutting out sugars, being really hydrated is super important. Dovetailed with that is sleep, right? Like there's nothing worse than being sleep deprived. And we all go through seasons and cycles, whether it's with kids or, you might be on your own, whatever it might be. Like lack of sleep really impacts how you see and how overwhelmed and stressed you get. And they say, I've been there, I've got a 5 and a 2-year-old and we're still in the midst of disrupted sleep cycles. So I know how that can contribute to that stress and overwhelm. But knowing that and then being able to do what we possibly can to prevent that to be as well rested as possible for the new day, the new week, really, really helps, pays massive dividends, okay? Another thing, really obvious, but we often neglect it, especially when we do get busy, is exercise, right? Exercise, getting your blood flow going, making sure you're moving your body, getting that oxygen pumped to your brain. Again, this is kind of neglected. Like people know it, but they just get, especially when they get stressed and overwhelmed and busy, that's the first thing that goes is your exercise. But then over time, you'll feel yourself getting more sluggish, getting more stressed, right? Really tightly wound up. Whereas if you go outside and go for a run or go to the gym, you're going to really open up your perspective and have literally a breath of fresh air. Okay, so really, really important. Some people, what works well for them is in a similar way, like meditation, journaling, affirmations, those sorts of things, just really reiterating your message. Okay, and so the theme with this is to get out of your own head, basically, right? Make sure your body is as optimized as possible, and that will then prevent the level of stress that you actually incur on a day-to-day basis. Another really good thing is to actually have people you can speak to. So I'd say a mentor, whether it's a formal mentor like we have in our Ecom Blueprint community, or honestly, just like a trusted parent or trusted spouse or trusted friend, someone that you can actually just talk to about business or whatever that problem you're actually facing, and honestly about life as well. So having someone or people around you that you can trust and talk to just to get it off your chest is really, really important to release stress and overwhelm. And often after these conversations I have, whether it's with Eliza, my wife, or my dad and my brother, who I look up to hugely, is it just, as I say, removes that level of overwhelm and stress, and I know which direction I need to go in next. So in the moment, when we get stressed and overwhelmed, it might be an email from a customer, it might be your ad starts to tank. It's just like this realization point. Firstly, we want to be able to take a breath. Honestly, like we just want to sit there objectively and just breathe, because that in itself will just, stop us from doing something crazy. All right, whether it's doing something on a whim or whether it's just getting really frustrated and, maybe throwing your phone against the wall or something like that. Like we just really want to be objective and just take that breath, right? Create that space. What you can also do is honestly just go for a walk. If it becomes stressful and overwhelmed, it's just like, okay, I've got to recognize I need to get out of my head, get out of my environment, go for a bit of a walk and see if that will obviously change your mood and change your perspective. The second thing, when you come back to it, is you want to clarify why you're feeling the way you are. As I said before, get it on paper, understand whether it's a Google Doc, handwritten, whiteboard, the least tech probably the better, just to get clarity. Why am I stressed and overwhelmed right now? Okay, once you can tease that out, you can probably see how, I would say, insignificant in perspective it actually is. Again, it's just what's happening in our mind that creates this overwhelm and anxiety. We get ourselves into a tears and basically go down this rabbit hole of how bad something could be. When in reality, it's like, what was I even so worried about in the first place? So get it on paper, get clarity about why you're feeling the way you are, and you can move to the next step. And that is basically the recalibration. Okay, so obviously dealing with it, getting back on the same page, planning for that next action step, and then you just have to take the action to mitigate it. Okay, you just need to rectify why you're feeling the way you are, because with movement and action, that's what's going to get you out of the stress and overwhelm. You'll start to feel really good about it. Okay, with that plan, you're like, okay, this is what I need to do next. You can move forward with action and get your confidence back. Right? And leave all that stress and overwhelm at the door. So the overarching theme here is to understand that firstly, we all get stressed and overwhelmed. That's honestly just part of life. The only people that aren't stressed and overwhelmed at any point in time are people who are dead, honestly. Okay, so whether you're stuck, declining, stagnating, or scaling your e-commerce business, it's gonna happen. Your problems don't go away. Your stress and overwhelm doesn't go away. It just gets bigger and even more riskier. But us as entrepreneurs get more skilled at dealing with the stress and overwhelm. And it's things through what I've just talked through today about looking at the recognition, then obviously beforehand looking at the prevention mechanisms we can use, and then dealing with the action side of things is exactly how we can reduce it in our day-to-day lives. Because the less time we spend in stress and overwhelm, the more time in the actual action taking with full confidence. Okay, because like I said before, the symptoms of stress and overwhelmed is basically inaction through the lack of confidence, through the self-consciousness, through just not having clarity about where things are at. Okay, so firstly is prevention, secondly is the recognition, thirdly is the action behind it. All right, so look, I hope this video was valuable for you. It's some skills and some things that I've learned over my 13 years of journey of being in e-commerce, and I want to transfer that to you because recognizing it is really important. You're not alone. You're not in isolation of getting stressed and overwhelmed. It's a part of life and it actually happens to everybody. So it's obviously about how we can deal with it. And that's what the top in e-commerce, those 7, 8 figure, 9 or 9 figure entrepreneurs are absolute masters at dealing with the stress and overwhelm. overwhelm. Okay, they use it as a positive rather than that inhibitor that prevents them from doing. So look, that's all I want to talk about through today. Hopefully it was valuable for you, sharing some experience and obviously giving you some skills. If you want to know more about how we help e-commerce entrepreneurs in the practical and obviously the mindset capacity as well, feel free to jump on the link below and have a bit of a look at what we do. But if you enjoyed this video, if you got value, please just give it a thumbs up, give it a subscribe. We're creating videos like this all the time. But other than that, I genuinely thank you for being here, watching towards the end, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.